I've been involved with the Roundtable for about 10 years, starting about the time the first national report on sustainable forests was being developed. And I attend my first meetings, I left my first meetings in awe that the assembled group of people with all these wide values and perspectives and opinions could have the kind of discussion around the forests for the good of the forest, not for the good of their own individual self or their own individual agency or organization. It was about what's best for the forest.
The agencies that put together these reports who don't take a position on things, they say these are the facts. You know, we're not judging, we're not characterizing these in any value sense, but we're putting these out there because there are some trends that you need to pay attention to. You know, that became the basis for a wide diversity of folks coming together, looking at this and saying, you know, these are some things that we're really concerned about. You know, we're concerned about the direction we're going here with the loss of forest to development. You know, it's one thing to lose a forest to a fire, and then a few years later that forest is regrown. When you lose a forest to a subdivision or a shopping mall, it's gone forever. It no longer serves those watershed functions, the wildlife habitat functions, or anything else.
There was a letter a letter written by industry groups, Society of American Forests, environmental groups. I can't even remember the numbers of organizations that signed this letter. And they all signed this letter saying, we need the Forest Service to help us as an agency help us as a country redeem our responsibilities under this Montreal Process Criterion Indicators. We need an entity to take a leadership role in making sure that we meet our responsibilities under this Montreal process. And the spectrum of organizations that signed that letter saying we need the Forest Service to take a leadership role on that is a once-in-a-career type of opportunity.
Well, I've been involved in Roundtable more like the last 6 years or so, but I was introduced to the Montreal process 10 years ago. We were doing work on Maryland's green infrastructure assessment, and we had actually helped pilot some of that work for the state of Maryland, Department of Natural Resources Forest Service, because of GIS capability and their interest in resource management. And they were kind of going around and introducing Maryland's efforts to other parties, and that led to being part of the first pilot course at Shepherdstown National Conservation Training Center on green infrastructure. And it was at that meeting that folks from the U.S. Forest Service came up and said, hey, we'd like to talk to you about this linking communities to the Montreal Process project. And we were actually invited to be the third county case study at that point. That was May 2001.
Over the last 10 years, as the U.S. has engaged in dialogue with 12 other countries, the Roundtable's played a very important role by serving as a sounding board for proposals advanced both by the United States as well as by other countries to create a well-understood set of criterion indicators. And so to me, one of the significant accomplishments of the Roundtable over the last 10 years is providing that sounding board and a broad-based set of supporters for the activities that several of us have engaged in those international dialogues.
The ultimate measure of success would be that the national report and the other data that comes along with the Montreal process begins to show that the forests are actually becoming more sustainable, because we will be moving as a system more away from kind of the benign neglect to proactive management to achieve sustainable resources. I think we would see reversal in those trends of conversion and the fragmentation and parcelization. We would see local governments be stronger participants and have a role in terms of using their local planning and zoning tools for forest conservation. I think we'd see a lot of things change. But the real test would be, do the forests actually become more sustainable, and can we measure that?
I've also followed with interest work at the state level. You know, the state of Maryland developed a state Sustainable Forests Report. And the state of Oregon has developed a set of 17 indicators that they use to track conditions and trends that are important to the people of Oregon. Again, I think the work in those two states was inspired by the work of the Roundtable here at the national level, and they took what they could use and what was meaningful at the state level and adapted it to come up with things that were tailored to the interests of the people in Oregon and the people in Maryland.
And so the Roundtable continues to spawn these champions who get work done over the course of weeks and months and years between Roundtable meetings and between national reports, who I think get energized by the discussion and the interest at the Roundtable meetings.